is 6 o'clock and you are in focus, and no matter how you look at it, the last 6 weeks have been very tough on all of us here in Baltimore. The riots, the unrest, and the crime surge that follows, it all continues to take its toll. In Focus investigator Brian Kubler now with what that looks like both on and off the streets.
Jamie, first inside the Baltimore Police Department today, some officers sent us a flyer they say has been pinned on several bulletin boards in the BPD headquarters. It is addressed to Commissioner Batts and reads, "How many arrests have been made since the riots for the thousands of bricks, stones, and bottles that were thrown at your officers?" Silence, that's what we thought. It embodies the low morale some officers say exists in the department right now. We are told these signs get taken down but then reappear. When reached for comment, the Baltimore Police Department chose not to respond. Still, the flyers are evidence of the temperature in and around Baltimore since the unrest and rioting. But to a good piece of news tonight, a glimmer of hope some feel could help turn the tide. With so many Baltimore streets seemingly not safe lately, one group can rightfully claim theirs are. There has been several positive news stories about the Baltimore City Health Department's Safe Streets program recently. While the city has been violent to say the least, the areas where this program operates can boast some incredible numbers. Tonight, we sit down with the men who do the dangerous work to figure out what has been working, why, and how they feel the city needs to double down on this program.
Because I come from these streets. I grew up here.
We got love for the community. We got love for the hood. That's why we do what we do.
We've profiled Safe Streets before. In short, it uses reformed criminals to return to the neighborhoods they once ruled with violence to now heal the streets with their old scars. They mediate, mentor, teach, and break through to a generation that in many ways only they are qualified to reach.
And that's most of what it's about, changing the norms. And I think we at that level where we're kinda changing the norms. We still got work to do, but I can say we are moving towards where as though this program is about to be automated and work itself in Park Heights.
Imhotep works in the Park Heights chapter of Safe Streets. Since its inception, the group says the norms have changed dramatically in their small part of Baltimore because of the work they do to mediate conflict, counsel high-risk residents, find them jobs, and foster connections in the neighborhood. The program aims to treat violence as a disease, and these men are the antibodies.
It's the relationships. So I think it's the relationships. See, in addition to the participants that we may have, in addition to the people that we work with, is right now we beyond just working with people. Like we invested. So
invested in making a difference no better pictured than in a big, fat zero. In a month that, per capita, could be called the deadliest month in Baltimore in recent memory, Park Heights and the 3 other Safe Street sites in traditionally high-crime Mondawmin, McElderry Park, and Cherry Hill had 0 fatal shootings. It is not just a statistic, Safe Streets feels, it is proof.
A huge tribute to the team is that the fact that they've been able to entrench the message in a lot of these guys' minds out here who they deal with on a constant basis, that we haven't seen the same type of reaction here that we have across the city.
Park Heights also had 0 non-fatal shootings as well. While a slight uptick in other Safe Street sites in that category, the numbers remain impressive overall against the backdrop of what post-riot Baltimore was and is. While there were arguments over policing, these groups policed their own streets by continuing to push a message they say is resonating, a message that there is a different way and violence is no answer.
The biggest thing that we try to teach them is this now is the opportunity for you to demonstrate that behavior change that we talk about.
That's right.
Okay, so yeah, you frustrated, but let's talk about how we can deal with this frustration in a more productive, positive way, as opposed to going down here, busting up stores, or even coming and tearing up your own neighborhood.
Achieving those numbers took work, dangerous work, and breaking up fights, mediating, and answering calls in the middle of the night. Across the board, Safe Street sites say since the unrest began, they have been mediating double the amount of conflicts they normally do, many of which they say would have turned into shootings. In a city where not much is working, Safe Streets seems to be.
Expanding Safe Streets is something that we are very much committed to in the health department.
Dr. Lena Wen is the city's health commissioner and says the success Safe Streets has seen in May prove to be quite the bargaining chip when talking budgets in the future.
This is something that we are actively working with the mayor's office and with our other city agencies to figure out how we can best expand the Safe Streets model.
Dr. Wen will stop short in talking certainties, but as Baltimore may be eligible for federal funds post-riots, Safe Streets is certainly a possible beneficiary.
Give me a camera.
Sandtown would be the most logical neighborhood for a new chapter, Safe Streets workers say, if only because mediations are needed to address a level of anger that still hovers around red hot.
The level of frustration was so high, you know, it was just at a peak that I don't think we've ever seen before, you know, and it boiled over into what we saw out there on the streets.
But in at least 4 areas of Baltimore, the frustration stayed below a simmer because of a model the numbers say works. One workers hope the city looks to expand and bets will definitely make a difference.
Get behind Safe Streets, and I guarantee you, they get behind Safe Streets and put the resources in Safe Streets and give Safe Streets 5 years to work, I guarantee you this Baltimore City will change around.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Yes.
Now, in a recent Baltimore Sun editorial, Dr. Wen boasted about the recent results of Safe Streets, saying it can help cure violence, but that the program alone is not a panacea. Meanwhile, Daniel Webster with Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, who originally studied the impact and success of the Safe Streets program a few years ago, is right now updating that study. There is no time frame for when this most recent study will be published.
Outstanding. Hey, let me just talk to Brian real quick. The T-shirt that they're wearing, was that "Stop the Shooting and Start Saving"? Was that it?
Start living.
Start living. Great, man. Stop the shooting, start living. How about that?